Welcome into Shaping Reality for December 2024. Can you believe it? We're here at the end of the year. I am joined by the wonderful Penny Kelly, author, educator, consciousness teacher. How are you, Penny?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm really enjoying the craziness, not only of the season, but of what's going on in the world and the people. I'm just like, isn't this neat? So,
I
yeah,
think it's ridiculous. I don't even want to leave the house. It's so nuts out there. So why are you enjoying it?
I think because it's reached the epitome of absolutely nutty.
Mhm.
And it's and the thing that I love, the thing that I'm enjoying the most is people looking at what's happening and just not buying it. We have grown up a lot.
Yeah.
We have gotten wiser. We have become, I'm going to call it social media mature. I
Mhm.
don't know that we would be able to, whoops, hang on a second. I'm pushing on my keyboard here. I don't know that we would be able to recognize directly like a fake, deep fake video of some sort. There's people who say, watch the eyes. They don't blink. Those people don't blink or something like that. But most other stuff we are catching and going, yeah, meh. So that's really what I've been enjoying. And coming to this place, that's like the last step before, um, like standing up and saying, no, thank you. Not, I'm not going there. I'm not doing that. I'm not having that. I'm not going along with that. So,
Yeah.
but they're not throwing away the baby with the bathwater.
Yeah.
So
You
that's a
know,
good.
I notice that about myself. It's like I just don't even it's boring. It's stupid.
Yeah.
I don't even want to engage at this point. I just go off and do
I
other
know.
stuff because everything that's
Yeah.
going on out there right now is just ridiculous.
Yeah, I think it's wonderful that this is happening at this time of year because everybody's busy with Thanksgiving and then Christmas, and it really gives people something to do besides to obsess about all the craziness that's happening out there. So I don't generally get all excited about Christmas, but this year I was like, yeah, bring it. Yeah, it's time. We need a little crazy shopping and a little too much partying and a little too much good food and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So we'll
Yeah.
see. I think we're coming to a big time. So that's
What why do you feel that way? What's behind that?
because of the whole drone thing and what that signifies to me. So, um, and then that I was having that perception that okay, there's something behind this, you know, something more than what we're seeing, and then I thought, well, am I right or am I wrong? I need a sign that I'm right, and unfortunately, the sign was the school shooting in Wisconsin this morning that left a few people dead and a handful, half a dozen, really injured. And and immediately I thought, okay, they only do that kind of crap when they're trying to hide the big thing that's coming. So I think that whole drone thing, and it's like I said to a friend of mine. Okay, so somebody was saying to me, well, it's just the ETs. They're just out there. They're trying to present themselves. They're trying to make their presence known. Um, and and so I'm like, okay, eh. They've been working at that for at least 50 years that I know of, since 1950s. So what is that? 70 years. Um, and it hasn't, the governments of the world have not gotten any smarter. But that whole drone thing is, if that's a cover up for the what I'm going to call that we want to get to know you kind of thing. I said, if I were an ET and I were going to a planet and I was going to introduce myself and my higher technology and my extraordinary consciousness. And the first thing that happens is one of my pieces of equipment crashes and burns. That does not make a very good impression. So that's, when I saw that, I thought, oh my God, the poor guys trying to pull this off probably feel like idiots. But they keep on keeping on.
So let's go ahead and launch into that because
Yeah.
that's what's out in everybody's mind. Based on your experience and your connections, what's going on in the sky?
There is a very big, and very real disclosure that is coming. And I think, and I was talking with somebody the other day, this was 2 days ago. And I said, I'm just not buying it. And so they said, here's something for you to watch. And sure enough, I had just put out the look-see and I was thinking, what if I'm wrong? That, I think that whole drone thing is BS. And there in this video that my friend sent me, there was Stephen Greer saying, well, there's a big disclosure coming at the end of the month. And some of the black site operators, that's big right there. They are coming forward with names, with documents, with video evidence, with their stories, with all of the truth, because they cannot stand what's happening any longer. So I had thought, okay, the drones are a cover for something big happening. Something, because I could see that there were real footage, there was footage of real ETs mixed in with the fake stuff. And I thought they were hoping people will just see all that, all the fake stuff, and then look at one or two really honest to God video or ET craft, and they'll just make a blanket decision. Oh, it's all real. These drones belong to the ETs. And I'm like, you think they're going to make a whole bunch of that kind of crappy little, drone equipment just to introduce themselves? I don't think so. So the story that Stephen Greer put out, which was kind of corroborated what I had thought, which was that's a cover for something. And it is. The deep state is putting out all those drones to kind of be like a distraction and a cover up for the true disclosure that is coming at the end of this month. If the people that are coming forward don't get taken out, that's always a possibility. That's a big risk. But that what will happen for most people is they'll say, "Oh, that's all crap," and then when the real stuff comes out, they won't be listening, or they will blend it into the "that's all crap" kind of decision making. But I don't think that the drone swarms that we're seeing, I don't think that they're going to have the impact or the effect that the deep state wants them to have. So much stuff is just an out and out lie. You read what's happening in, say, let's say TASS, which is the Russian newspaper, or RT, which is Russia Today online. And then there's some Chinese newspapers that are published in English. You go to those and you read what's happening in Syria and Israel, and it's the exact opposite of what we're being told here in the US. And I think, oh, wow, the effort to lie, to create a fake reality is in full swing. It's getting to the point of being cutthroat. I don't think it's going to work. And I say that based on some of the data from Cliff High and his talk about, wow, the data says we're going to get into the last week of December, first week of January, and everything starts falling apart and the melee occurs, some real fighting, shoot 'em up kinds of things between real ETs and the fake ETs, and the maybe even some of the operators of the black sites will still be operating. But their task in those black sites is to shoot down craft in order to reverse engineer. And then they also, if they shoot it down and there's any survivors, they have all sorts of, they have some bad stuff that they do to those poor survivors. So that's not good. But all of that is we're coming to a head, and I think the new year is going to bring a whole new, I'm going to say, slew of information and perspectives and OMGs and oh wows and all of that. And it's not, we're going to know at that point that, yeah, there are others here. I mean, everybody will know, not just me or a few others. Everybody will know. And that's going to have a much bigger impact than people think it will. And it'll be gradual. So we'll have time to like flow with it and adjust. But it does get, for a while there, like between January and June, it's kind of like going down the Colorado River. You hit the rapids. It's like, whoa, hang on. So that's where I see us coming to.
Okay, so a few things come up for me. The first one is once there is disclosure, we will all start settling into the fact that those are just people.
That's right.
They're just people. They're just from
Yeah,
a different planet. They're just,
that's right.
they're
They're
people.
other humans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the 2 points that I see happening is, first of all, they keep flying these drones, and people are going to start waking up to the technology that we've paid for that they've kept from us.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a real rude, angry wake-up call from the populace who funded all these toys that they're playing with.
Yeah.
And then the second thing is that, in my opinion, when we have a full ET presence or a craft that lands, the technology and the whole experience is gonna be so different than this stupid little drone thing they're doing, that there's, in my mind, there's not going to be any confusion about
Right.
what's what.
Uh-huh. Not only will there not be any confusion, there's going to be a huge amount of clarity about what people are willing to put up with and to
Mhm.
continue doing. And people will stop doing a lot of things, a lot.
Yeah.
And
And
that's,
then I think there's gonna be a huge rush of people,
yeah.
the naughty boys trying to get off the planet.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I've read just a few reports that they're being hunted now.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, I wouldn't want to be in their shoes. Whatever made them think that they could do what they've tried to do, I don't know. I mean, they must have a blind spot or a stupid spot that got fully triggered. But it's the consciousness of the planet is really, it's to try to fool that many people. Maybe the US bought into it because the effort was so seamless for so many years. But the rest of the world, they weren't getting that propaganda, and they were not being told what we were being told. And they weren't being, what do you call that? Psyoped, like we were being psyoped. And they have moved ahead. They have clarity. They have direction. They're looking at a future where they're like, woohoo. And we're looking at a future that's like, oh shit, kind of thing. So it's really going to be a stark difference between the rest of the world and us for a while. And we need to be, I think, kind of humble to make up for the really bad stuff that some of our leaders have promoted or gotten involved in. All the wars.
And
Okay.
I think that for those of us who live in the US, and I
Mhm.
realize a lot of people watching are not from the US,
Yeah.
but those of us in the US, I think it's a tough pill to swallow
Yeah.
to realize that not only have we been a horrible bully around the planet
I
and
know.
created so much death and destruction,
Yep.
not the people, the government, but we have been propagandized worse than any country on the planet, probably in the history of the planet.
It
And
has
so
been ridiculous.
our perception of reality is so distorted. And
Right.
here we thought we were the beacon of free speech and democracy when it
Oops.
was exactly the opposite.
I know.
And
Everybody
that's
sitting over there in Samoa said, "What is the matter with those fools in the US?" I'm like,
and the I think the unwitting arrogance
yeah.
that comes with that is like, I used to be so proud to be an American, and now I'm just like, I just wanna walk around apologizing to every other country, you
Chin
know?
up. Chin up there. Keep your
Yeah.
dignity. Oh my.
Really sorry about that.
Yeah, I know. I
So,
know. I
there's just a whole and I do Penny, I had a
do.
flash, like, a week ago that we're as a civilization, we're
Mhm.
kinda growing up. We're just
Yep.
on that edge of waking up, growing up, and starting to realize we've gotta develop systems
Yeah.
and a way of working together that's sustainable.
Yeah. I cannot say I cannot even begin to convey the kinds of options, potentials, technology, understandings, lifestyles that are out there and available once we get past this terrible sham that has been going on. The new world is so amazing. I can't even, the options in that new world are astounding. And it does involve technology. It does involve changes in food, big changes in governance. We still have some years to go with the idea of nations. um, I saw when I was with the robes, I saw that nations still existed up through 2061 or 2, 2063. Looked like the last of the nations were, and it was just as a facsimile, a dribble of what our nation has been for the last however many decades. But a whole different type of thinking. By 2060, a whole different type of view of ourselves as members of the cosmos, a whole different lifestyle and set of priorities. All the priorities, the change in priorities is stunning, absolutely stunning. Right now, I'm going to say for my whole life, the big priority was get an education, get a good job. That was in a nutshell. There's more, but if you were a woman, it was get married and have kids, maybe. If you were a man, it was climb the ladder, or maybe join the army or the Air Force or the police department or whatever. But all of those priorities just don't even exist when you get out there, even 5, 10 years from now. The big priority is, I'm going to say it's got 3 aspects to it. One is this fascination with history. And I think it's because we're learning about our true history. That's the only thing I can think that would make history such a rewriting the story of history is that's a big focus. The second big focus is understanding the body brain system, how it works, how it runs, consciousness, health, all of that. And then the third thing is, okay, how do we set this up to work differently? And that's, it goes through some iterations, but it's very It's so empowering for people because now they're very intimately involved with their own health and become their own healers. They're very intimately involved with their consciousness and the expansion. They're very intimately involved in the what I'm going to call the governance. I hate to even use some of those old words.
Yeah, more of how the society functions.
Right.
Because I'm with you. It's like I don't want government. I want us to manage
Yeah.
ourselves. Yeah.
And we're trying to figure out how do we do that. And yeah, what are the rules that we're going to use to guide our behavior? And when does somebody cross somebody's red line? What do we do with that?
Yeah.
Etc. But here's the thing that I think makes that much easier. When you have supremely healthy people, they aren't crabby, they aren't tired, they aren't anxious, they aren't oversensitive. I cannot even begin to convey the kind of cooperative, placid excitement, and I know those are contradictory terms, that the average individual has or holds when they are supremely healthy. They don't think about competition. They don't think about fighting. They don't think about, oh, he insulted me. They don't think about taking offense at the least little thing. That doesn't even occur. That's all a function of what is going on in the microbiome of the human and the training, to some extent, the mineral state, do you have the correct set of amino acids and are they in the correct formation within the body? All of those things are living things and they have their own consciousness and they contribute to our consciousness. And when we don't have the minerals, the aminos, we don't have the bacteria in the gut that need to be there, all that consciousness is not there. And in the gut, let's just use that for an example. You have all of these bacteria that really fight the bad bacteria in order to take over and cooperate. That same consciousness occurs in the human mind, in the human consciousness, when you have all of that bacteria working to cooperate. You never see your toenail, for instance, deciding that it's had enough of toe life. It's going up to live on the knee and it's going to establish itself on the knee or on your eyelid. You need more protection for your eyes. So you're going to grow toenails on your eye. That doesn't happen. And that it doesn't happen because everything about the body is cooperation. And the internal parts of the body monitor that internal environment very carefully. And they get rid of anything that just doesn't fit, anything foreign. That changes consciousness. When you're healthy and all of the right bacteria and the right minerals and the right aminos are in place and working, then you have this amazing change in your consciousness, in your level of stress. A problem comes up, it's not a stress. It's an exciting, creative challenge. What can we do with this? That's not how 90% of the world works today. Something changes even a little bit and people freak out.
Yeah.
And they're not happy. And they don't get creative. They just get angry.
Yeah.
So
Well, I think that people are not only physically stressed, so they're not operating at an optimal level, but the way that we've set things up on this planet or has been set up, it's a constant struggle. I mean, this is a very high risk life on this planet. And not only things like driving on ridiculous freeways and all the toxic ingredients in everything that we do in the air and the water and this and that, but just being able to eke out a living on this planet can be stressful.
Yeah.
So
that's one of the big things that changes is how we do that. So, yeah.
I have a question that that came up when you were talking about the potential of humanity.
Yeah.
Because we are different humanoids, biped, we are a different breed or something.
Well, the way that we think of it is the people of Earth are made of Earth. So they are Earthlings. That is literally the truth.
Okay.
They're Earth-based humanoids. Now, if we were from, I don't know, Sirius B, we would be a different kind of humanoid. If we were from Andromeda, we would be a different kind of humanoid yet. And I think it's really important to be aware that let me give an example, a little bit of an example. Let's say that we become a very advanced civilization in terms of our technology, and we all come together and say, let's build a ship that will take us to Jupiter or to somewhere. That whole effort is only possible because of the people home on the planet. Okay? So that really, I mean, there are some space-based colonies, but a lot of the people that are trucking around the cosmos have a home planet and people there that they love, children often, landscapes, homes, sometimes animals, etc. And that's something that I think is really important. We are Earth-based humans, but there's a lot of other kinds of humanoids based on where they evolved from, and the minerals and the bacteria and the forms of life that came together to cooperate on their planet.
Yeah.
So,
So what I'm curious about is I know that Earth humans have qualities that are specific to Earth humans.
yeah.
And I'm interested or I'm fascinated thinking about what it is we can bring to the mix
Oh,
in the totality of
yeah.
the universe, the creativity, the robustness of our physical form.
Yep.
We're going to be adding to the mix. And I'm kind of curious, what do you think are unique qualities that are going to be specific to us Earth humans that are going to be important to the greater of everything?
Okay, so from the point of view of, let's just say, just my people, okay? Speak for my people. the big, the big thing that is so important about Earth-based humans is that they have this extraordinary destiny to become incredibly powerful with their consciousness and still maintain a physical body. That's that may not sound like a lot, but that is a lot. Other civilizations often, almost always, resort to boosting with technology, and we could do that. Okay, we could boost, we could become transhumans, or we could just skip the whole transhuman thing and say, well, we don't want that, but we want some sort of technology that we can use to boost some of our physical characteristics and capabilities, etc. But yeah, and we don't want the transhuman thing at all. At least I don't. And that's something that if we continue to develop consciousness and the ability to coordinate the physical consciousness, the physical brain, and develop that to the degree that other people have only been able to do that with technology as their booster, that sets a precedent within the cosmos for the ability of physical beings and this extraordinary consciousness.
So is the challenge is the challenge having the consciousness expand while keeping the denseness of physical form?
Yeah, right.
So
Because
it's kind of like,
gives up the physical form.
pardon?
Everybody gives up the physical form and just becomes light. They want
Okay.
to be less dense. And it is easier, but it's much harder then to seed new life because
Okay.
you don't have physical DNA that you're working with.
Okay.
So we have this amazing DNA that has just evolved and evolved and evolved. And and the view of us is, oh my God, they've come this far and look at what they're facing. And let's see if they make that step or if they fall into the abyss and self-destruct. I
Well, we're
want
going to do
for
that.
us to make that step.
Mhm.
Just kind of hop right over that abyss.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the challenge is keeping an expanded consciousness
Yeah,
in a physical form and having them being able to work together.
that's right. And we have examples of people who have been able to do that. So some of those examples are natural. Remember the movie Superhuman and watching the kids who were reading, they were blindfolded, completely
Right.
blindfolded,
Yeah.
and they were reading. And then another group, completely blindfolded, they were blindfolded, riding their bicycles down the street, not running into anything, paying attention to traffic. Another group was, I think they were playing baseball. It was either baseball or tennis and completely blindfolded. That is some skill that says, so if you back up, let's just back up a step. Every single cell in your body has all the capabilities of the whole system. So every cell can see, it can hear, it can smell, it can taste, it can act, etc. So when you have developed that to an extraordinary degree, now you're not limited to just whatever the brain will do. Now the whole body mind system becomes
Okay.
an amazing tool of consciousness. And in the book, Psychic Discoveries Behind the Iron Curtain, Russia was, I think it was in Russia, one of the women there had demonstrated again and again how to move things without touching them. And what they discovered was that when she was doing that, when she was able to move things, she was the prefrontal lobes of the brain and the occipital lobe of the brain in the back were operating in perfect harmony. They were in perfect alignment. Their frequencies were both in, perfect synchronization at 200 cycles per second. The average human today works at 12 cycles per second, maybe 15. You get up a little higher, you get into high beta. You get any higher than that for most humans, and they're all, they get their panties in a knot and they can't do anything. They can't think clear. They're in a high stress state. So, we have examples of extraordinary capacities, and some of the ETs have messed with us to see if we do this, if we subject them to that, will they have this ability? And we did. And so they're like, whoa, these human beings on Earth are something different. And so they really want to see us expand, grow, step into our power, and learn to work with energy and consciousness. Consciousness is energy, and so that's what the big hope is.
So the hurdle of our telomeres were shortened so
Yeah,
that our lives were shortened. How do we get over that hurdle? Jay Widener, a month or two ago, in a conversation with me, had stated that if you're able to stay on the planet in the next 8 to 10 years, you may well live 150, 160 years.
right.
So,
I've been told the same thing.
but then how isn't the telomere length the indicator of the life expectancy? So how would that happen?
Because it's only one, and it's not the determining one. It's just what we know at this point. It's like, oh, look, those are getting really short. Oh, they're all gone. He's dead. You know,
Oop.
yeah,
Then we have to start all over again and do that whole toddler thing. I'd just rather
yeah.
stay.
And we are and have been experimenting mostly through the MK Ultra stuff. How do you reset a body? Cash was researching some of that. Other places are also researching that. It's not public, but they're doing it. And they're not reporting publicly because people get upset. Oh, you're trying to play God. I'm like, well, we are gods. So
Yeah.
why shouldn't we play? Why shouldn't we learn? Why shouldn't we develop that? And when we make a mistake, we learn from that. We can fix it. So, the old saying, if you're not generating enough mistakes, you're not living. So here we are. And if we learn to reset a little better, I think, how far ahead? I can't remember if there was a ways ahead. I'm going to say like almost 1,000 years. We had learned to restore people, bringing them back from the dead. We're still here, 1,000 years from now, and still learning and still growing. And it's very different. That's very different, but it's still us. It's still the physical human and the technology to bring back people to grow parts that got disturbed or got broken or got cut off, or
So
all of that
essentially
is,
what you're saying is that we develop the ability to work with the body to make it easier for a soul to come in
yeah,
and move that body. In other words,
yeah.
it's not that.
Look at it from this point of view. When I was thinking of coming here, I remember I have this very clear memory. It was right about this time of the year too. On a small silver craft with a few of the other team members who were coming with me. I didn't think I could do it. The biggest reason for that was because of the skills and the gifts that I had to give up. It's like, I don't know, it's like, quite a step down. And that, I'm really glad that I did it. You learn a different kind of love when you're here, and it's a pretty powerful kind of love. And that, I think, that whole business of we have these skills, we have these abilities that we could use. Unless you've had an example or an experience of a taste of those kinds of powers, I'll call it, because they're very powerful. You wouldn't know what they were. So there needs to be a group, a civilization of highly advanced beings who can hold that kind of power and that kind of consciousness, so that souls who are a little more advanced can come in and practice and get used to that kind of ability, that kind of capacity, so that they can make a sufficient number of mistakes like all humans do and say, oh, whoops, that didn't work. I need to do it this way, or I need to not do that, or I need to do this instead, or. So you need humans that are advanced along the entire spectrum for the souls that you were just mentioning to have a broad set of choices. And there are not a lot of those choices around the cosmos. And I'm sure there's more when you get further out. But in our local area of our local galaxies, we know quite a few of those people, and there's not a lot of those kinds of options.
It's so exciting to me thinking about meeting the neighbors. But I want to talk about this one thing. So we, as consciousness,
Yeah.
we incarnate in order to experience.
Yeah.
And that experience expands the universe.
Yes,
So it's basically just a project or a game or
yeah.
a creation that we come into these bodies in order to experience, in order, and maybe you came in with the purpose of helping this
Yeah.
collective grow and expand. And so it's a
Right.
project, and I can see how important humanity, Earth humans could be
Yes.
because we're so close
I know.
to getting to a place where it's gonna become a very, very unique creative environment in order to for souls to come in and
100%.
expand themselves. Is
Yeah.
that pretty much
That says it right on the you're right on the
okay?
nose. I
Okay.
mean, it says it perfectly, beautifully. And for us to not think about that, not think about ourselves in that way is really to cut ourselves off from some of our own potential.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's exciting for me to see or to think about the opportunity to meet other people whose lives are so different
Yeah.
and skills and abilities are so different, whose perceptions are so different, and learn from them and exchange ideas. I mean, it's going to open up an exciting new chapter
Right.
in potential for us.
So let me ask you a question. Let's say it's January 16th, a month from now, and the ET lands in your backyard and hops out. What are you going to do?
I'm going to say, wait, hey, hi, come on in. Honestly, I'm to the point now, it's like, "Come
Okay.
on, I just wanna
Yeah.
talk. Tell me about your life. Who are you? What do you do? What's important to you?" I'm to the point of, "Let's get on with it. I wanna meet you."
Okay. All right. So you're not
Why?
going
What would
to change.
you do? I mean, what you say, "Oh, hey, Bob. Nice to see you here on this planet."
The few times where I have actually been face to face with the ETs, um, there's this. I don't know how to describe it. There's almost a frozen oh my God. And they're busy communicating, so you're picking that up, and that it is. I just wish that I had been a little more together. And the very first time that I was out in the backyard and I was wishing, it's like, come on, you guys, I know you're up there. Come on down. And we had, the vineyard was off to my left, which was to the west. And there was a driveway that went over to the vineyard. And I'm standing there in the backyard on the porch. It's a big porch. And all of a sudden I see these two blue lights. They weren't very big. I'm going to say maybe that big around. And just this beautiful electric blue flashing and this chirping coming out of those lights. The two of them together moving along that driveway. I freaked out and ran in the house. I was like, what was that? And so later I thought, you know, you fool, you invited them and then you ran away. And so that was my very first attempt to make contact. We often don't realize that people are listening and they're ready to make some sort of contact. And then when they do, we freeze. you know,
Well, okay, let me ask you this, and I have talked to people and seen interviews with people who've had face-to-face contact.
yeah,
Is it the difference in the frequency that causes us to freeze? Because people have said it is so stunning
it is.
that you can't even imagine, you can't wrap your head around it.
I
And
know.
is it it's like, for instance, if an ET walked into the room right now, I'd be like, "Hey, hey, I'm glad you're here." That's what I think I would say.
Yeah.
But is it the impact of the frequency that affects you physically that kind of
Some of it.
throws everything off kilter?
Some of it is the frequency. Some of it is just the difference. The difference when you see, have you ever watched like two dogs who've never met one another before just kind of look at one another and neither one moves? And you wonder, what are they doing? Are they getting ready to fight? Are they going to bark? Or is one going to attack? No, they're sizing one another up. And that's what I feel my encounters have been. Of course, the one on board the ship when I was arguing that it wasn't too late, that was actually a whole panel of ETs, a whole group of them. I was disturbed enough that I didn't care. That I mean, I was just out there, blah blah blah, blah carrying on.
And they're probably looking at you going, "Whoa!"
They don't like it when we lose control of ourselves. They don't
Which
like
humans do a lot. Earth
Yeah,
humans
that's
do a
right.
lot.
They consider us to be kind of like unpredictable wild animals.
Yeah.
But that was the only time that I feel, as I look back on the encounters I've had, that I was really who I was being who I really was at the moment. The other times, like that first time where I just cut and ran. Oh, what is that? And then, a few other times, there's this such a deep curiosity, like you're feasting your eyes on who is that? And, or you might even be thinking, what is that? And it's really a who. But there's this, like I said, like the two dogs just kind of looking at one another. You're looking at one another and you're being read and you're trying to read the other person. And then this information comes pouring in. It's totally distracting. So, I think we're gonna see some ET people that are going to join us. They're going to come out in the open, and they're taking a risk. They really are.
Okay, so based on your experience with your people,
Yeah.
what do you think their position is towards meeting us? Are they a little nervous, or are they anxious, or are they drawing straws on who has to do it?
Drawing straws. We don't really do that, but I think the overall attitude is they know us so much better than we know ourselves in some ways, that they're very carefully choosing who they will appear to. And they often will choose young people, very young. They don't trust the physique, the physical condition of older people, because so many people on the planet that are older are not healthy, and they're very cautious, very careful about not wanting to trigger a heart attack or a stroke or something like that. And so
Killed
they
another one, Bob.
right, they don't want that. But there's also they will make their presence known, and they will do that really. They will try to appear as absolutely as normal looking as they possibly can, and then very slowly introduce themselves. They don't usually land on the front yard, in the front yard with their ship.
Yeah.
They're standing next to you at the grocery store, or they're somewhere laying next to you at the beach, or somebody you meet in the forest or whatever. When you go for your walk, and hi, and they'll meet you 2 or 3 times so that you see them and they become like, oh, there's that guy again. And it's not, if you happen to stop and talk, then they try to make it as normal and as unthreatening as they possibly can. I there has been some talk about landing, uh, but I don't know if that's going to happen or not. So we'll see.
Well, let's talk about the ETs that are already here.
Oh yeah,
And I heard someone, and gosh, I'm trying to remember. It was someone Regina Meredith was interviewing
oh
that
yeah,
said that she felt there was at least a couple of reptilian shapeshifters in high up in the US government.
yeah.
So, can you speak to the validity of that? Is that something that you're aware of, that you think is true? And how is that going to unfold when we realize that there are ETs already here?
Yeah, there's like 3 dozen different kinds of ETs already here. And they really want to be able to move around freely or
And
more
are
freely.
they shape-shifting? In other words, are they presenting themselves as human, or do they actually look human?
They look human. They look, what happens, what they've taken advantage of is they'll, like a particular type of ET, will plant themselves in a region of people who are distinctly different looking. And they will then, they live there and they'll interact a little bit. And the people who are already there just, they don't think much of it. But what happens in the long run is that we then look at the people from that region as, oh, they look really different, but that's how those people look. Because we're used to the concept of, the Chinese people look this way, and, the Hawaiian people look this way, and the African people look that way, and Swedish people look this way. And so we have all these different versions of humans, and we just chalk it up to DNA. And some of them do interact with us on a regular basis, and we don't even notice. Don't
Okay. Are
notice.
you personally able to identify them, Penny? Like,
If
have you
I
ever
saw
said,
them, yeah, I probably would. But in where I live, I haven't seen anybody. I've seen, pictures. So there are certain things that I would be looking for. There's certain ones that I would be looking for. And but I'm not in those parts of the world. So so there's nothing to look for in Kalamazoo, or very little. So
maybe you picked that place on purpose?
I don't know.
It's very vanilla.
It is. It is. Yeah. I
Yeah.
was just this morning. I was thinking about the use of portals that everybody uses, except for the humans here on the planet. And the portals. I was thinking about the one over in Detroit, and the one in Tucson, and the one in Northwest, in the Northwest. I think it's Washington State. And then there's one in California in the mountains, and so there's portals all over.
So is
And
a portal, does it function like a kind of like an elevator?
no, it functions like this set of frequencies runs right up against like a wall. This set of frequencies on one side of this wall is Detroit. On the other side of this wall is Bavaria. So if you want to go across the ocean, you just go to Detroit and step through this one doorway, and you are in Bavaria. It's there are portals that move you to other universes. Those are, I find those kind of scary. But the ones that, like I was in Tucson many years ago and just driving along, and and I remember at the time that I was driving, looking out across the landscape and seeing, I don't know that I can even describe it, but I was seeing the desert the highway, there was some cactus, and overlaying that was these houses, these structures. And I remember thinking, oh, there's two dimensions that overlap. The portal is somehow right here. And then I could feel that portal. And then I was back in the desert. And I thought, oh, I came through the portal, but I didn't go all the way through into the other dimension. And that it was one of those kind of spooky moments where you realize something just happened, something very unusual just happened. And so there, that kind of thing happens where two frequency sets are right next to one another. And that, for me, has called into question the whole nature of space.
Yeah.
Why do we perceive that, why do I think you're in Florida? Why do I think, somebody else is in Germany or in Italy or China or wherever? There's something that there's a missing piece there about space. And I think that that's one of the secrets that we need to unfold or discover or, tap to be able to use wisely and well. Then we don't need all of this incredible toxic transport kinds of stuff that we use to get around. So yeah,
It's a stupid world.
yeah. And then there's an old book. I don't know if it's still out. It's called Faces in the Smoke. That book was an amazing recount by somebody who had gotten fascinated with this whole business of energy and had watched an African shaman murder somebody using, a doll, piece. I think it was a piece of something wrapped up, maybe with a few hairs from the person he wanted to murder. And this 9-year-old kid was hiding, watching this shaman or this witch doctor murder somebody, and didn't realize what was happening until the next day. I guess the witch doctor got into a frenzy, and there was something happened. It's been a long time since I read the book. And he knew something unusual had happened. And the next day, his parents reported, oh, so-and-so was found dead, for no reason. Just boom, just dead. And that started him on the journey of trying to figure out what you could do with consciousness and energy. And he reported later on, he spent his life, and he might be still around. He was a journalist, and he met some South American Indians who still had the capacity to just transport themselves anywhere they wanted to go. Anywhere. And he asked them, how do you do that? And they said, you have to intend with everything you've got. You've got to see it, hear it, smell it, taste it, feel it, that you're in this location. And you have to let go of the old location. And they said, we're the last of the people who used to know how to do this.
And I think that that's the crux of the programming, is that
Oh, yeah.
we now believe that we cannot.
Yeah, that's true. That is something that we need. If we're going to restore the planet, we need to develop ourselves and stop, robbing the planet of everything she's got. Although Mother Earth has said, I'll give you everything I've got, and I'm not going to hold back. And my dream is that you will take me when you learn to create that new Earth. Yeah. And what she's saying there is that you will heal all the scars and all of the, all the destruction, all the toxins, all the poisons, all the whatever.
Yeah.
So
it's beautiful.
Yeah.
So let's recap as we wrap up.
Yeah.
The drones are the naughty boys.
Yes, they are. Yes, in a nutshell.
Yeah, and it's silly and you don't need to worry about it.
Right. Yeah.
And then we're
Pretending.
looking and you think that we're looking at a major wonderful disclosure event
Yeah.
towards the end of December, which would go right in with what Cliff High's been saying.
Yeah. 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 The end. When he said that, I thought, that's awful close. What's going to happen? Well, I think that's what's going to happen is some kind of serious disclosure, really
Yeah.
serious. And people are maybe at first they'll go, oh, poo poo. But within a very short time, it has worked its way. The truth has worked its way through consciousness. And people are just OMG.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be really exciting
Yeah,
because it really opens up the door for us to step into a completely new way of living on this planet.
I know. Oh my gosh. A completely new way of living, of enjoying the whole experience, of being together, of being, just of being,
Mhm.
without all that anxious, competitive. Yeah, anyway.
Well, this is a hard gig
It
on
is.
Earth as it is now. It's a hard gig,
Yeah.
and I can understand why people are stressed. This is a very, very stressful environment.
Yeah. Yeah. Hugs for everybody out
I
there.
know. I know.
Oh my gosh.
Wonderful.
Oh,
Well, what do you have planned for Christmas, Penny?
not one thing. Nothing. I'm gonna stay home. Nate and I were talking today, and we're just going to lay back
Oh,
and do
good.
nothing.
Wonderful.
So we said, well, we'll see how long that lasts. So yeah, no plans to travel. Not going to get involved in all kinds of fancy dinners and family stuff. Most of the family has said, "Oh, I think we're going to stay quiet. We're going to stay here. We're not going to travel." So I'm
Yeah,
like, all right.
wonderful. Well, I hope everyone watching has a wonderful holiday season, regardless of what you celebrate.
Yeah, amen. Yeah,
Mhm,
and then enjoy laying back if you don't have any big plans, just realize that you don't get a chance to do that very often. So,
mhm. Yeah, and
yeah.
I think, next time we meet, we might have some pretty exciting stuff to discuss.
Ooh-wee. Yeah, yeah. Oh my
Wonderful.
gosh. Yeah, a month from today is my birthday. That'll be
Oh,
exciting all by itself.
well, happy birthday early.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
All
Thanks
right.
everyone for joining us tonight. Have a wonderful holiday season, regardless of what you celebrate. We'll be
Yeah.
taking it easy around here too.
Okay, very good. Yeah, enjoy you guys. Enjoy.
Yeah.
Watch what's happening.
And get ready to meet the neighbors.
Yeah, there you go. I love it. Oh my.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks everyone for joining us. Bye now.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Have a Merry Christmas. Have a